Hi there guys, and welcome back to Stellaris. This is a patch info. I'm going through the patch notes with you, and then after that I'll start up a game and see how they play out. This is the version 1.2.0 from the new and coming Asimov patch. It's still in beta, so it's not all like etched in stone. But it's a pretty good lead where this thing is going, and I think it's going to be very good. Let's look over that. So, about the features. They first listed some stuff under important, so let's go through that. Add a defensive pact diplomatic action that allows you to form a defensive alliance with another empire. That is a nice added option, which, for me would replace the pre-federation stages where you always go, my alliance always wants to wage some wars, and I don't want, so I always say no. So, the offensive wars, if you want to avoid them, go for that defensive pact. It's really good. A non-aggression pact, migration treaty, support independence, guarantee independence are now diplomatic actions instead of trade deals. I think that's because they changed the diplomatic system. So you don't have embassies and stuff anymore. But instead, you're gaining an amount of trust by doing these diplomatic actions. And if you stay true to your word, your relations will improve. So, yeah, that's the next point. Removed embassies and replaced it with trust. Trust builds over time from having active diplomatic treaties, such as non-aggression pact or alliance, and increases opinion by up to 100. So the same as embassies, but you have to work for it. So the game is getting a little bit maybe more difficult, but also the computer empires won't form alliances as easily, I think. Federations now vote on wars and new members too. That is, I think... Is that new, really? I had my federation where I was in a vote, and so I don't know. Well, the vote on wars is new, because federations were previously some kind of, pick your friends and go along with them, whatever they do. Federation members now give 20% of their navy capacity to the Federation, which makes up Federation navy capacity. Federation fleets no longer cost maintenance, but cannot exceed the Federation navy capacity in size. So you have an exclusive fleet for the Federation, which is pretty cool and new. You can now kick Alliance and Federation members with a majority vote action. That's new as well, and I think pretty helpful if you got some troublemakers in your Federation and you don't know how to get rid of them. Setting a favorable trade deal, such as a gift, will now increase the opinion of the other empire by up to 100. So, there's the workaround. Give them your minerals and they'll love you. You can now set a war philosophy policy. This policy determines what type of war goals you can use. And that's interesting, because that adds to the roleplay I so love. So this is definitely nice. Before you could just use like liberate or seed planet, and now there should be an more to see. We'll see that when I'm playing that on for you, maybe in the next episode, because this may be longer here. So the next will be the gameplay of the version 1.2.0, the Asimov patch. Removed war economy policy. Yeah, that plays in with the war philosophy. Okay. Even though I found that pretty cool, I have to say, it was also unbalanced. So if you wanted to go for the total war the whole time, that was really a good way to do that. Colonizing planets and building frontier outposts now costs influence based on the distance to your closest owned system. I think that's great, because it adds some kind of reality check to that. If you have a colony on the other end of the universe, it should really cost more. And if you have a colony very close to you, it should cost less, of course. Especially the frontier outposts were like, ooh, you always thought there, better make a really bad colony on that planet instead of a frontier outpost, because frontier outposts cost so much in influence. Borders are now open to everyone by default, but can be closed through a diplomatic action. Empires will close borders to rivals by default, and fallen empires will never open borders. That's interesting, and that stops the amount of blockage you can do to opponents. So that's removing some kind of strategic, tactical measure for you, but you can still enable it again by closing borders, which makes you more evil in the eyes of the others, though. So there's that. So all in all, I think it's good. Happiness is now a linear modifier, with levels above 50% giving bonuses and levels below 50% giving penalties. And I think this is great because, the fixed 80 and 90% and the ones below, I'm always against the fixed values. Because in reality, do you have fixed values? It emulates a kind of reality in, of course, in a fairy tale universe, but it's still cool. It's still cool. So you don't have to look at, oh, wow, now I'm at 79.8 happiness. I'm not getting the bonus. How do I get like 0.3% happiness now? So that is removed, that worry. All ship weapons have had their range doubled. This was because they wanted to get rid of the bee swarm fights, which is cool. I love ranged weapons, so that's cool for me. And it also, I think, gives a slight preference to, slower ships won't be so bad anymore, probably. At least if you attack aliens. Added diplomatic, opinion, and an AI attitude map modes. Map modes are easily moddable, and more can be added through mods, but it will affect the checksum. So if you're now playing mods, you cannot use your mods through the map modes. You cannot use your save games, probably. But in general, the map modes are pretty cool. But I'll have to see if I can continue my Let's Roleplay with a new patch, if that stays the same. I hope it doesn't. In general, there's a lot to look at. So I'll maybe split up this video into several parts. So there's that. The general patch notes. Ship designs with excess power gain a small bonus to damage, speed, and evasion. That's pretty cool. So you don't have to look for the zero design like a madman. And maybe it opens up also stuff for really excess power builds. We'll see. Maybe for all ultra-ranged weapons. Grand Admiral achievement now requires a combined fleet of over 100,000 instead of having dealt 100,000 damage in a ship combat. I'm not so much about achievements, but I don't know. It's a fixed value, so it's cool. You know where to go. Alliances and federations can now vote to kick a member. For the vote to be successful, 50% of the members, plus 1, need to vote yes. So 3 members in an alliance of 4, for example. Very nice. But if you have a federation of 3, that's also cool. It absolutely makes sense. And if you have the AI might not be able to get rid of alliance members than if they're in a federation or in an alliance out of 2. Because I'm not sure, do they dissolve or do they vote kick each other? you'll have to see how that plays out. Ship combat computers' behavior has been changed. We have that had in the top-notch things. Aggressive behavior is now called swarm behavior, and defensive behavior is now called bombardment behavior. Yeah, the bombardment, like staying to a distance, and the swarm behavior is like storming in. So this is the old behavior, basically, and the defensive is... the bombardment is the new behavior. Added visitors. I think it's cool that it's bound to the computers too, because like you can see how the AI affects you then. And maybe we'll give like some plot twists to the AI quests. I have not yet experienced, but maybe will. Added visitor center building and associated technology that is available to xenophile empires. That sounds pretty cool, a visitor center. I like that. Added symbol of unity building and associated technology that is available to spiritualist empires. That seems to be, yeah, also cool. I'm really curious as to if more of these buildings are going to be added. Because now everyone wants to try out xenophile and spiritualist, I'm sure. Fleet merging has been improved and should prioritize certain fleets better. That's pretty cool, because it was always unnerving to rename your fleets after the merge, because you couldn't really tell who would be the name bearer. Spaceports can now be dismantled. It's also cool to not give your overwhelming enemy force experience. Natural beauty planet modifier effect on habitability removed. Oh, that's... Instead, the modifier now affects planet migration attraction by 25%. All right. I'm split on that. Yeah. Why not have good planets? Yeah, it bases the game more on luck, but still. Natural beauty is so cool. We'll see if that stays. Taking a tributary now makes you guarantee their independence for 10 years without cost. Yeah, that was the up thing there, where they give you like 20% of their income. And yeah, you're their overlord and you have to watch them. Yeah, that they don't get eliminated. Why not? It's good. They must have something in return, right? Migration time was changed into migration speed. Yeah, that's a change of word, probably. Base ethics divergence has been changed and capital buildings have been adjusted accordingly. It is no longer possible to avoid ethics divergence by not working the reassembled ship shelter. That sounds more like a bug fix. So that's good. Added regulated slavery policy option. That sounds interesting. We'll have to see what that means. Civilian ship designs are updated with shields and armor technologies. Maybe automatically. That would be really good. So you don't have to think about that always. Frontier outposts are destroyed if the last owned planet in a system changes owner through war. Makes sense. Absolutely. Strike craft attack and movement pattern was charged to be more swarm-like. Yeah, that makes sense. Strikecraft ship count increased from 4 to 8. And damage has been rescaled accordingly. Yeah, whatever. Galactic Ambitions technology no longer provides survey data for enemies, for empires. Oh, I'm not so warlike, but it's okay. For empires you have contacted. Yeah, that's kind of rebalancing, and probably for multiplayer too. So, now, new things coming. War goals. Make tributary. You can now take tributaries in war. What you've seen up there. Tributaries are a type of subject that pays 20% of their energy credits and mineral income to their overlord, but do not join their overlord's wars and are free to declare their own wars and colonize planets. I think this is a pretty cool thing to have a tributary. It brings Stellaris closer to EU4 or Crusader Kings with all the diplomatic options. So yeah, you can really fine tune. You can see, yeah, we want to have a tributary, a vessel. It is a difference. Abandon planet. If your policies allow purging, you can force an enemy to abandon a planet, killing all pops on that planet in the process. That sounds pretty cruel, but it's nice that you can do that. Humiliate. You can humiliate enemy empires, making them suffer a negative modifier for a time and giving you a chunk of influence. So if you have no war goals that you like, go for that, basically. It's also close to the games of EU4 and Victoria from Paradox. Open borders. Forces the other empire to open their borders to you for 10 years. Would be nice to rivals, to do that to rivals. Stop atrocity. Forces the other empire to ban slavery and purging. That's really cool for role-playing, and it also is a great burden on slavery-based species. Like if you have a decadent species going up against you. Yeah. New. Space nomads. Nomads have been completely reworked and expanded for the mid-game. This non-player faction travels from one end of the galaxy to the other, encountering empires and triggering events. I think it's cool because I haven't met them and I'm really far in the mid-game. So, very nice, very nice. New diplomatic incidents. Certain actions and circumstances can now cause diplomatic incident events between empires in mid-game. That spices up the thing a bit, and I like that really much. It's also close to the things that were introduced to EU4 in the later patches, and that makes the game so interesting, or keeps the game so interesting. There's always a certain element of surprise to that. New slave factions. Remove the old slave faction. Added the docile slaves faction, made up of relatively content slaves, and they have fairly mild support effects and demand regulated slavery policy. Added the malcontent slaves faction made up of unhappy slaves. This has a fairly harsh support effects, including empire-wide rebellion. It's going to be interesting for slavery empires. They were some kind of the trump card before. If you would choose like the right traits at the start. Malcontent slaves faction demands freedom for all slaves. So you have to think twice about slavery empires now. It's going to be pretty tricky. Added emancipation faction for non-slave pops. Emancipation faction strengthens the malcontent slaves. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like that is like in real life. Like Martin Luther King also had like support from everywhere, and so to say, the whites in the 1800s also supported the slaves to be freed. So to change that, and yeah, it is a lot more understandable from a human kind of view, from a social point of view, to make it so. It makes it more feel like a natural movement rather than, yeah, these are slaves, they do not belong to our species, or they're another species. This like adds them into, from a roleplay standpoint, into the species, like they're the same as us, we have to care for them too, which was not there before. Pop ethos influences with which faction pops join when enslaved, and the decision sticks to them for a time. That's cool. Enslaved pops move between the two factions, with dissatisfied slaves gravitating toward the malcontent slaves. Yeah, that makes sense. So we have a real political system inside Stellaris, which is like unheard of other, at least space simulations that I know. Like think of Master of Orion 2. Nothing there. Yeah, even if it was a great game, even if you had a democracy, like you didn't have such problems. So that is really adding in a great simulation, which is the strength of Paradox as well. So I'm going to make a new episode here. I'm just continue talking and I'll cut it later for the balance, because there is a lot there as well. So thank you for watching for now, and we'll go over to the balance now.